ready to go? Thank you. We'll call the November 17th, 2021 Area Plan Commission public hearing to order. First item, Mr. Burns needs to call the roll call.
Jackson Bogan.
Here.
Larry Leverance.
Here.
Carlos Snodgrass. Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds.
Here.
Greg Jones.
Here.
Bob Metzger.
Here.
Diana Looper.
Here.
Vicki Pearl.
Here.
Michelle Dennis. Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Perry Brown. Tracy Brown.
Here.
Jason Domkowski.
Here.
Lisa Dullum. Kathy Parker. Jody Hamilton.
Here.
Quorum present.
Well, look at us. Briefing session.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's one request for a continuance. The petitioner for Z2844, the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel, has requested a continuance to December 15th. The other three cases are going to go forward tonight.
Thank you very much. Approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the October 20th, 2021 meeting as submitted.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. We're on to the public hearing. Do we need, when will we do the continuance of that? Does that come up later?
Do it at the time.
It does. It's later in the motion.
Okay,
It's
I did
later.
not see it because it was still in the agenda. Thank you. I will now read this statement for all of you. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we are only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petitions will be given the opportunity to do so. When we are hearing a request for a change in zoning, we are trying to determine if the new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate to that property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report. Then the person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those of you wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized. And then those of you who wish to oppose it will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed a rebuttal. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body, and the majority of 17 is 9. Regardless of how many commissioners are actually present, at least 9 votes in favor or 9 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again next month. Our vote on our request to subdivide is final. Our vote on our request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate City Council, Town Council, or County Commissioners, who must ultimately decide on changes in zoning. When addressing the Commission, please state your name and address for the record. Cell phones must be turned off when the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before doing so. All exhibits presented to the Commission become the property of the Commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendations on the application be heard this evening, and responses from checkpoint agencies.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries.
I move that Z2844, International Church of Foursquare Gospel, PDRS to NB, be continued to the December 15th APC public hearing agenda at petitioner's request.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Subdivisions.
I move to hear and vote on S5041, Three Meadows Subdivision, Section 2, Major Preliminary.
I second.
All right. Well, we're here in the unincorporated county, right adjacent to the city limits to the east. This is the Three Meadows subdivision. The approval before you is for a 67 lot plus 5 outlots addition to the existing subdivision. Let's see if we can go ahead and get into it here. There's a closer look at the site and what's already been laid down. So we're going to see an extension into this area from the original phase there. So apart from the 67 lots, the 5 outlots included in this new 40-acre section They take up about 15 acres total of the outlots, used for stormwater detention, recreation, landscaping, et cetera. Obviously, as you can see, a good portion of the site's wooded, except for the center portion there. As you can see, the area's been largely developed all around it. In terms of the roadways, if we can get into the plans. So here's the northern portion, and then southern portion. Leave it on the northern portion there. The existing 40-foot half rights-of-way shown for Lindbergh Road and Klondike meet the requirements for secondary arterials according to thoroughfare plan. No new access to Klondike is proposed. There will be one entrance from Lindbergh, which is known as Petite Drive, I guess, and the continuation of the Three Meadows Drive from Section 1. Beyond that, there's NVA and other places there. The standard pavement width for the new urban local streets, so the non-secondaries, is 30 foot, measured from back of curbs. Petitioner did apply for a variance to reduce that to 28 feet, but that variance request failed, I believe, procedurally due to a lack of a motion. I think a motion was taken and not seconded before the Board of County Commissioners. So that variance did not succeed. So that'll have to be reflected in your vote as well, unless I'm mistaken. So, yeah. So those 30-foot widths will have to be incorporated into the plans. Let's see, I think that's all I've got to show you here. But we did include slides from the variance requests, and these were for these cul-de-sac spurs that come off the main drives. So those variance requests, of course, were not successful. In terms of the conditions, the rest are all standard. So staff is recommending conditional approval, and bonding is being requested.
Thank you, sir. Petitioner, petitioner's representative wishing to speak on this? Welcome.
Evening. Kyle Betts with Fisher Engineering, 625 South Earl Avenue. We have reviewed the staff recommendations for their conditions. We do understand that the request for the variance for reduction of street width has not been accepted. We understand that those two streets will need to comply with the 30-foot road width requirement. We do not have any objections to the conditions that were presented, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Any questions from the commission members?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's two variances, so one got denied and one got approved, or they both got denied?
I'm sorry,
Okay, I
Right.
didn't understand that one. So.
both variances were, no motion was made on either variance, so therefore they were not.
So that's been decided, and you don't have to vote on that. It's already been decided and turned down.
So we don't even need.
So we have a sheet that we can remove from our packet and fold
Yeah, I
up.
don't think there's any need to have that on there.
Procedurally, it's no different from a denial. The commissioners didn't vote denial, they didn't vote, which denied it.
Correct. It's the same thing.
Okay.
I agree, it's the same thing. You don't need to vote on that. It's already been denied, and they understand they're going to comply, so.
Yep.
Just technically, is their vote just a recommendation, or is it, why are we hearing the variance? If
I
they-
don't think we need to hear the variance because it was denied. That's my point. And I believe the petitioner's taking the position that you're going to comply with the 30-foot, and
Yes, I was merely stating that we're not, that decision's been made and we're not in objection to anything.
they're not asking for any relief on that. They're going to take the 30-foot
Yeah, the
as it
locality
is.
controls, it's the locality's streets, so the locality decides on the variance request. They decided, in a way, by not
Right.
voting,
Yeah.
so therefore it was essentially denied.
Right. So
And so we simply, as a body, I believe we just simply confirm that vote in your vote. Yeah,
we can
so-
certainly vote on it if,
But you cannot, I think, per the subdivision ordinance,
Can't.
overturn the locality's
that's
vote
right.
on a
And that's why I
variance.
think
So
procedurally,
you're
we need
compelled
to do
accept
nothing.
it. Yeah, so,
We need to do nothing, which is
should-
generally the best procedure if you can get away with it.
okay.
So we will remove this from the packet, and our vote on the actual subdivision will require that the 30-foot streets are in compliance on our normal vote, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so with that, any questions? Please.
Really for Ryan, did I hear you say that it is adjacent to the city limits of West Lafayette?
It's nearby, it's not immediately adjacent, but it's, the city limits are just off to the west, on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Literally on the other side of the track.
I believe the tracks are the boundary, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You said a couple, that was one.
Yeah, I do have one. Thank you. Access for this is only going to be off of Lindbergh Road and not Klondike?
Correct, because it achieves access to Klondike from the extension of the Three Meadows Drive into this site.
Any other questions, comments? Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Opposition? Very well, then, we have a ballot, and just a reminder, scrap the variance ballot, and they are requesting bonding. Yes, sir.
We have a unanimous ballot of approval.
Thank you very much. S50, thank you. S5042, Sagamore Commons.
I'm going to do the continuance, if that's okay, I think.
We already did the
I think you
continuance.
continued already.
Continuance, you're right. So I'm down to, see, thank you.
Top of the page, S5042.
Got it, thank you. I move to hear and vote on S5042, Sagamore Commons Subdivision Revision 2, Major Preliminary.
I second.
Welcome back.
Okay. All right, well, as you can see on the screen here, we have a GB zone with commitment. That's the kind of the crosshatched area there, trying to differentiate those zones that have that extra treatment to it. The approval before you is a second revision to the previously approved preliminary plat. This one includes 10 commercial lots on a little over 17 acres, as you can see, located on the southwest side of Sagamore Parkway, of course in the city of West Lafayette, at the new Sachem Boulevard. Don't know if I'm getting that name right, I'll ask the owner, which is just north of Cumberland. Let's go ahead and get into the site here. As you can see, the first installments are already in place. Lots, I guess we can go to the plans. Obviously, the Culvers has not been built yet, according to that aerial photo. But it's there now. It's on Lot 3, and Lot 4 is currently under construction for a Popeyes restaurant. Beyond that, the plat for Lot 3 included right-of-way, of course, for the public streets. All those streets that you see there in the aerial photo but earlier have been accepted for maintenance. Lot 7, which is down in this corner here, is located in the western half of the site. Was transferred to the adjoining Whitehorse Christian Church property, which is just south of them. And then the Outlot 1 area covers an existing detention pond at the at the original western boundary there. That's the low area along the county regulated drain. The streets shown on the previous approved preliminary plat showed as a public street has been removed, replaced by a private street and an access easement outlot. The most significant change to this, of course, is the new street connection to Cumberland, which you see here to the south. Touchy, right around there. This change was originally essentially mandated by that commitment and included with the rezone from OR to GB approved by the City Council back in May of 2018. The new street will provide a much-needed second way in and out to this site, which would certainly relieve a lot of pressure off Sagamore Parkway. The revised preliminary plat reconfigures the 20-acre site into 7 lots. However, since it is a commercial subdivision, these lot lines are subject to change in final platting when actual construction plans come in to build something. So these are essentially placeholders. What can't change is the street design. So that's essentially what we're fixing in place here. The other lots that are proposed here, besides the 2 that are already completed or under construction, 3 and 4, these lot lines could jostle around depending on the nature of the commercial development being offered. So other than that, public utilities, of course, are available to serve the site. Petitioner has requested permission to bond. All the conditions that follow are fairly standard, so we are recommending conditional approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Petitioner's representative wishing to speak on this?
Hello, good evening. Thanks, Ryan. I am Cameron Seymour with Schneider Geomatics. I'm here to represent the petitioner, Sagamore Commons. We agree with the staff's conditions. We are requesting approval. Tim Stevens of Sagamore Commons here would like to comment on item number 10 of the conditions. And if you have any technical questions, I can answer those for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Thank you, Mr. Seymour.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Tim Stevens. I'm the Director of Development for Sagamore Commons, LLC. Our address is 6925 East 96th Street in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I wanted to ask just about this item number 10, and it's not a deal breaker for us. We accept all the conditions as they have been prepared. I just wanted to make a brief description of why we don't like that. And the reason is I've lived long enough to see projects that have 30 or 35 years worth of covenants amendments. This would be an amendment to the covenants, and normally speaking what happens is you get this string of amendments that becomes very difficult to understand the declaration of covenants once you get about 8 or 9 amendments in. And the reason why I don't think it's necessary is there are 2 reasons. One, the Plan Commission has a no vehicular access easement shown on this preliminary plat. They have sole control over that. The 2 lots that have been recorded have shown it in accordance with that the preliminary plat that was originally adopted. And they have ongoing jurisdiction. So you've got the ability to say no vehicular access without it being part of the covenants. The second thing is, when we got our road cut for Sachem Boulevard onto Sagamore Parkway, we recorded a deed with INDOT that said there will be no other access. It's a limited access right-of-way deed. In other words, that prohibits access, just like it does on any of the highways you're familiar with. And I think for those two reasons, you've got ample regulatory authority to say there will be no vehicular access. We're just trying to avoid an amendment where we got to hire a lawyer, come back and make a one-paragraph amendment to a declaration. So, like I say, it's not a deal breaker, but as a common sense kind of thing, I think you've got adequate power here without making this covenant amendment. And we would just ask that maybe that last one get lopped off. That's all I've got. Anybody has any questions? Be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
I just had a question, Ryan, about the NDOT deed. Are you familiar with that?
A bit of its history, yes.
I mean, I understand your point, and I understand your point about the covenants. I think the difference here is whether you call it a covenant change or you call it a big stamp on your covenants that says subject to APC decision based on, 11/17/2021 decision. It's really the same thing, and I'm not sure you really need to get lawyers involved. I understand why you don't want to if you would otherwise, but the NDOT deed's a little intriguing. I'm not sure I've ever seen one. If it's already, the deed was no vehicular access, it's the same as this one. Is that your understanding, Ryan?
Well, the history of this site predates me a little bit, but
Sure.
from what I know and from the, discussions we've had, I've been at the table on, the access was granted where the current curb cut is at Sagamore Parkway for a full access to all directions of Sagamore from this site. Mr. Stevens, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you opposing the NVA that's shown along Sagamore Parkway on lots 1, 2, and 5?
Yeah, all for the NVA. That's not a problem.
Okay.
The idea was just to pull it into the covenants in addition to everything else, because
You're looking for a way to avoid having to modify your covenants.
yeah, it seems unnecessary. The Plan Commission already has that authority. It appears on the preliminary plat. We fully acknowledge not only the need for it, but the fact that you've got a backup of NDOT. We had to describe a line with a legal description.
Yeah.
It said there shall be no access to the Sagamore Parkway right-of-way along this
Understood.
except for this gap. So those access rights have been
Right.
deeded away.
I guess I agree to the extent that it's already been dealt with and it's already clear that there is going to be no vehicular access. Our usual policy is to say, hey, go put this on your covenants. I realize
Right.
that.
Yeah, it would be kind of irregular to drop it,
Yeah.
especially when there's no objection to it.
I guess the only solace that I would suggest is that it really doesn't need to be an amendment to your covenants. It just needs to be a note that refers back to the APC action on November 17th, 2021 that says there is going to be no vehicular access, and to me, you have then complied fully. You don't have to go into the guts of your covenants and make modifications. So I think otherwise it probably ought to stand. I see that we've got our building commissioner back there, and I'm not sure whether you have a...
It sounds reasonable, Eric.
Question for you on this as well. Even if it was decided that we wanted to remove it for whatever, wouldn't that continue, because this is what was published for the public hearing? Are we able to remove this and vote?
It's up to you. Yeah, you could. You could. I'm not sure it's a great policy to start.
Well, in answer to your question, I was thinking about making a motion just for discussion purposes, and we'll give the petitioner his opportunity to debate and hear it, and we can vote it up or down.
And so your motion is to...
I've said I was considering the
Oh, I
motion
see.
for that reason, just to be an official.
Understood.
So I will move that we remove condition number 10 to have that applied to the subdivision covenants.
We have a motion and a second, now open for discussion.
I do have a question. Mr. Stevens, and this may relate to this, Lot 1, what's the access to Lot 1?
It's that cul-de-sac that's already platted.
Okay, it appears that cul-de-sac doesn't really connect to Lot 1.
Those lines are utility lines and the like. That Lot 1 extends all the way back to the center of that radius on the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So it goes all the way back there. It's probably got 50 or 60 feet plus
Okay,
as
so
far as
there-
frontage.
There will be a driveway, I'll call it a driveway or an access, off of that cul-de-sac into Lot 1?
Right.
Just as there are the other lot, yeah, okay.
Right, and to make it clear, we're not opposing the no vehicular access, and it is on the plat that we submitted, and we don't object to that. We just thought it was unnecessary to add this, and I don't like to add language that says irrevocable lot by lot owners, because I don't know if 40 years down the road, there's some reason for it to happen. Now we've got a covenant change to happen in addition to a plan commission change. So I just felt it was unnecessary and was asking for it to be removed for that reason.
Just a question from a technical, did you already sell lots 3 and 4?
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure how you could change the covenants to their lots that they've already bought and agreed to your original covenant.
I think as declarant, we do have some unilateral rights for amending the declaration, and I don't think it's a substantive change because they've already recorded a no vehicular access on their property, but I'll yield to a lawyer. I'm not that.
No, and I guess, to reiterate my point, I believe that it is not necessary for you to go in and make substantive changes to your covenants and add paragraph 27A. I think it is sufficient because it says that it's already being voted on, and all you have to do is refer to the action tonight if the action is indeed to impose this covenant. It's different than having to go change it, is I guess what I'm telling you. And it is irrevocable by the owners. Call it what you want. APC, if it decides it, doesn't matter what the owners think. It's irrevocable. Anyway, you got a deed that
That's why I
says so.
thought it was
I'm with you.
unnecessary.
It's a technicality. I understand why, but I think my suggestion would take care of your problem and make sure that some lawyer doesn't get any more business than they need to.
Well, I'm all for that.
No, I'm sure you are.
Here, here.
Where would we make said note?
I would just put it on the face of it, or put as a
On the
footnote.
plat? Okay.
Yeah, just refer right back to the action that's taken tonight.
Is
So
staff
that's-
satisfied
That's a way to
with
do
that?
it.
Sounds good.
Does
That's
that take care of your concern, sir?
Sure does.
If everybody's happy, I'll remove my move to rescind my motion, if I can do that.
You can.
Okay. Sounds like we solved it.
So I think we're back to
We are voting on
voting on all
the
of
motion
very
to
much. I
rescind
appreciate
Gary's
it.
motion. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. And thank you, by the way. That was very informative. Very interesting. So we are voting on the motion to remove Gary's motion.
No, you don't have to.
We
He
don't
went
have
through
to?
it. You're good.
Okay, we're good.
It's like it never happened.
All right, with that, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this? Opposition? Any more discussion on vehicular access? Hearing none. We have 2 items to vote on, one being a covenant or a commitment, correct, on this? And that will go on a yellow ballot?
Oh, no commitments on it.
That's for the rezone
Am I on the
case.
wrong one?
Yeah,
Thank
you're-
you.
This is just standard
jumped on.
subdivision
Yep.
ballot with permission to bond.
Like I was saying,
Great one.
this is just our standard subdivision ballot, and we're going to vote on this. We have a white ballot, and bonding is required, or requested. And I will need another yellow ballot, please.
So we got one. Thank you. There we go.
Thank you. I just heard some music in my ears.
All right. And we have a unanimous ballot and approval.
Thank you all. Rezoning activities.
I move to hear and vote on Z, 2843 Board of Commissioners of Tippecanoe County, R1B to GB with commitment.
Mr. President, Commissioner Byers and myself will recuse ourselves.
So will Commissioner Brown.
Brown, I'm sorry, Commissioner Brown. I get them confused all the time.
Mr. Hiddle.
Good evening, David Hiddle with the Area Plan Commission. This is a rezoning case involving a property of just under 38 acres. It is the county fairgrounds specifically and the former YMCA building adjoining the fairgrounds, which is being converted and used as a county government building. It is zoned R1B for low to medium density single-family use, and the request is to rezone it to GB for general business. GB is a commercial district that allows for pretty much anything you can think of and a lot of things that might not be suitable next to a neighborhood and a school. So the petitioners have included a commitment that states that the only thing that the site can be used for is county government use and then essentially the fairgrounds in the way that it's historically been used. So that rules out all the onerous things that you might be able to get in a GB district. So it's a very, very constrained rezoning. Property is surrounded to the north by floodplain, to the west by a residential subdivision, the east by a school, to the south by a residential subdivision and a commercial shopping center zoned NB. This actually originally came about because there was a request for a sign permit was filed, and the sign that they wanted is not allowed in the R1 district, and we thought you could either get the variance for the sign or you could go ahead and rezone to make the use conforming rather than legal non-conforming. And so they chose the route of rezoning, which brings us here today, and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Petitioners, petitioner representative, would that be you, Mr. Hiddle?
I believe it's the fellows in the hallway.
Does he want to?
There we
He
go.
can certainly present.
Good evening. I actually presented on a variance at BZA last month, and now for a rezone this month. I bet Teeter and Bumbleberg are shaking in their shoes right now. But this petition came up because, as you know, we've done a significant project out at the fairgrounds and also have purchased the old Y building and have done a significant renovation in that building. We're going to be doing increasing signage for both of those locations, so a sign on 18th Street and a sign on Teal Road. And when we submitted a request for that sign, it came up that the square footage of the sign allowance within that R1B zone was smaller than we wanted to do, and it's like what we had no idea why this was zoned residential anyway, and so with the help of staff, we decided to request the GB with the commitment. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
All right.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in? Actually, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this? Opposed? Any further discussion?
The only thing I might say is it's a bit of an instructive moment. They don't have to be out there legally. They've chosen to be, which I think is smart. And so the only instructive moment is that Indiana law is very clear about conflict of interest, and it's very simple. If you, by your vote, are going to make money, if you're going to increase your financial wealth because of your vote, that's a crime. That's called conflict of interest by a public servant. You want to avoid it and avoid it and avoid it. This is clearly not going to put a nickel into their pockets however it comes out, because it has nothing to do with their bottom line as individuals. So they wouldn't have to recuse. It's not even a close call. It's not a conflict of interest. But I think it's smart because it is something they're interested in, and they shouldn't be voting on it. And in my view, if you're not going to be voting on it, you shouldn't participate at all, Now, he's made a presentation, but he shouldn't be participating by debating with his fellow APC members. He ought to just step aside. And so I think they're taking the real high ground and doing the right thing. So that's the only reason they're out in the hallway, is because they've chosen to.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, one.
Yeah, oh, that'd be
one thing.
great.
Hey, they can hear, shut the mic off. But Ryan, you have our blessing. You have our blessing. All right. Okay, with that, we have our ballots. Don't forget, we have one commitment, not on the previous petition, just on this one. And then we have regular yellow as well.
What do we vote on the commitment? Where do you vote the
Just
commitment?
you just write commitment on the actual ballot. What's that? No, not on the same. We'll have two separate yellow.
Yeah, we all do.
We're special down here. Yeah.
You got it.
I need one. That's me too.
Okay, give us directions one more time.
Okay, so we will have two of these. One will say Board of Commissioners commitment. One will simply say Board of Commissioners. Same petition number, same everything. The only word that will be added, which will be different, will be commitment.
Let's keep them separate. So I'll collect the commitments and then the reason.
So the first item Mr. O'Gara will be picking up will be the vote on the commitment.
Okay, we got 15 ballots in favor of the commitment. And 15 ballots in favor of the rezone.
Thank you. Commissioners, if you can hear us, come on in. It was close. Okay, we will move on. Unanimous decision on both, by the way. We will move on to administrative matters.
There are none, sir.
With that, I want to make sure everybody saw Don Lamb's open house on December 3rd, Friday, December 3rd at 2 o'clock. From what I'm told, they had to tie him down, beat him, in order to get him to commit to this. And so he's a fairly private individual, but if you can make it to say thank you. 39 years, right? 39 and a half years. Quitter, couldn't make it to 40. And so, but anyways, it'd be nice to honor him at that time. He's done a wonderful job, and I know he will be missed. Approval of the December Executive Committee agenda.
I move the following petitions be placed on the December 1st, 2021 Area Board of Zoning Appeals public hearing agenda. BZA 2067, Scott and Lori Williams, and BZA 2068, Coe and Courtney Knox.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. Determination of variances.
I move that regarding the special exception, BZA 2068, Coe and Courtney Knox, that this case will not adversely affect the comprehensive plan.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Now determination of variances.
I move following request for a variance from Unified Zoning Ordinance is not a request for use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. BZA 2067, Scott and Lori Williams.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The report was passed out earlier this afternoon, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. The one item I do want to call out is Don Lamb. There's a picture drawn by his daughter. Don
really
is
cool.
39 and a half years in his tour of duty here with the APC, and his depth of institutional knowledge is just absolutely bottomless. I think when he walks into a room, he brings a credibility that is just unassailable. And like with Sally, they're going to be real hard shoes to fill, but I think we're going to do our best. So I just would want to mention on the record and give credit to Don for everything he's done. He's maintained, I think, the status as the most tech-savvy person in the department, despite the fact that he's not a spring chicken anymore. And he just does so much, and we're probably going to learn more and more of what he's done after he's gone. So we just want to publicly acknowledge his fantastic service. And, as Jackson noted, there will be an open house here from 2 to 4 on the 3rd, his final day, December 3rd.
And I know he's not here, but publicly I would like to give him a round of applause.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don, for all you do and have done. Citizens' comments and grievances. Not everybody at once. Gary?
Move to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you all.